A school friend of mine once told me a story. It was a really cool story. I don't know if it's true, but I like to believe it. He was taking a train ride, and he was sitting across two other guys. We have those chairs in the train and others that face each other. I don't know if you have that here. The other two guys, they were talking, and they were talking about something that my friend knew everything about, everything there is to know. A Dutch television show from the 80s for children called Bassie and Adriaan. Bassie the Clown, Adriaan the Acrobat. The cool thing about this series was that it's actually one of the most well-performing Dutch television series ever. But when they started out, it was very low budget. Their final episodes ended up in the US and in Spain, but when they started out, it was very low budget. So my friend, he leaned over, and he interrupted their conversation. And he said, "Do you guys know that the actor that plays Adriaan the Acrobat, that he also plays the evil supervillain, the Baron?" And they were like, "No way. No way, really?" They had no idea. My friend interrupted their conversation, and he gave them a little factoid that they needed in their life. And for the rest of that train ride, they talked about all kinds of memories from their childhood. People from the rest of the train wagon even joined in. It was like a little party of memory childhood thingies on a regular train ride. How many people here do interrupt people on train rides? I usually don't. Because I like when my conversations go well. I want my conversations to go well. I want all conversations to go well. But sometimes conversations don't go as well. So that's why today we'll be talking about the developer's model for talking to managers and others. Now, I'm from the Netherlands, and the Netherlands has a very particular culture, which doesn't already translate exactly to Belgium. So I'm really curious to see if this is going to translate as well to you as it does to my fellow Dutch compatriots. So please let me know afterwards if things are really different from you. But I do think that what we're going to talk about today will be very interesting and perhaps very useful. Let's go back into the train. This is me. Let's go back into the train. Imagine that you are on that train ride. Two people across from you, and they're talking about something that you know everything about, programming. And one is saying things to the other that you know they're not true. Now, there's no malcontent, no malice. They mean well. They're just wrong. It happens. I want to play a little game with you. Good idea, bad idea. I want to see some hands. You lean over and you say, "Hey, I heard you say this thing, but it's actually this other thing." Good idea. Bad idea. Okay. Instead, you lean over and you say, "Hey, sorry to interrupt. I know something about this stuff. I'm a programmer myself. I heard you say it was this one thing. It's actually this other thing." Good idea. Bad idea. All right. Different scenario. You lean over and you say, "Hey, I couldn't help but overhear. I'm actually a programmer myself. I know something about this stuff. Would it be okay if I made a comment?" Good idea? Bad idea. Okay, interesting. Somewhat different scenario. You're working in a team with 2 other developers, a junior developer and a meteor developer, and you are the senior. The 3 of you make a team. You hear the meteor developer explain something to the junior developer that's very much not true. Hey, I heard you say X. It's actually Y. Good idea. A bad idea. Who wants to just do a wave? Hey, I couldn't help but overhear. I'm actually a programmer myself. I know something about this stuff. I heard you say the one thing. It's actually the other thing. Good idea. A bad idea? All right. You lean in. Hey, I couldn't help but overhear. Sorry to interrupt. I know something about this stuff that you're talking about. Would it be okay if I made a comment? Good idea? Bad idea? All right. One more scenario, then we're done with the questioning. You're working on a project for a client. The project was sold to the client by a particular sales representative, and the sales representative is talking to your manager about the project. And you overhear, and you hear the sales representative say something to the manager about the project that's not true. You lean in. Hey, couldn't help but overhear. You said the one thing, it's actually the other. Good idea. A bad idea? All right. You lean in. You say, hey, I couldn't help but overhear. Sorry. I heard you say the one thing. It's actually the other. Good idea? A bad idea? All right. You can guess the final one. You lean over, you say, hey, I couldn't help but overhear. You were talking about my project. I'm on this project. I know about this stuff. Would it be okay if I made a comment? A good idea and bad idea. All right. Well, why? Why would something be a good idea in the one situation and not such a good idea in the other situation? What is the difference between the one situation and the other such that you would interrupt differently? In the first situation, on the train, there's no established relationship whatsoever. You don't know these people. You have no idea what they know, what they do, what their experience is, what their history is like. Nothing. No established relationship whatsoever. In the second situation with your team, there's very much an established relationship, and you even have the same role. The difference is between seniority, and that gives you certain expectations. Whereas in the third situation, there's an established relationship, but there's different roles, which come with different expectations. So in the first situation, I would say that these people are very far away from you, relationship-wise. So in the first situation, I would go for the most safe approach, which would be, is it okay if I make a comment? In the third scenario, with the sales rep and the manager, I would say, well, there is an established relationship, there are different roles, there are certain expectations, but your manager and your sales representative, they are not part of your team. So I would be a little bit more careful than just being very blunt and direct. But I would be somewhat direct. So I would interject, but I would not do it directly. Whereas with my team, well, being the senior developer on my team, it's my responsibility to make sure that my meteor and junior developer are safe from making mistakes. So I don't have to be an ass about it, but I still need to make sure that everything goes correctly. So it would be the most direct approach. Now, to make a very bad, oversimplified, but useful model out of it, I would look at it like this. My team is close to me. Strangers on a train are far from me. That means that I have a lot of say in what happens in my team, but I don't have a lot of say of what happens on the train. So they are further away from me or closer to me, And the further away they are, the more energy I need to spend to make something happen. So the very stupidest thing I could do is to stand on a stage somewhere and talk to 300 strangers. Another way of looking at it could be something like this. My team is in my sphere of control. I actively help decide the course of my team. I have a vote, at least. Whereas my company, well, maybe I get asked, my input might be considered, but I don't decide unless I'm the CEO. But I'm not. This is the developer's talk. And if I work for clients, well, the decisions that my clients make will certainly influence what happens to me. It concerns me, but I don't get to participate in their decision-making. They're the furthest away from me. And the further away, the more energy it costs to do something about it. A very nice quote that I've taken to heart is this one, the Serenity Prayer by Reinhold Niebuhr. Lord, grant me the strength to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. We don't worry about what we can change. Let's play another game. There's a sales representative in my company. We're onboarding a new client, and the sales representative and I have made estimations, 5 to 8 sprints. And the sales rep comes up to me and he says, I sold 4 sprints because you developers always overestimate anyway. Good idea? No one? Bad idea. Good. What if he came up to me and he said, I could only sell 4 sprints, but we put 8 sprints in your planning, just hush about it. Good idea? Bad idea? What if he came up to you and he says, hey, I could only sell 4 sprints, they don't have the budget, but we believe in what they're doing, so we're investing in them. We put 8 sprints in the planning, go get them, tiger. Good idea? Bad idea? So here's a cultural difference. This is interesting. All the Dutch go, bad idea. Because all the Dutch say, we can't make this happen as a company. The sales reps should not do this. Which is crazy, because we hate to be told what to do by salespeople. Why would we tell salespeople what to do? Now, I don't know why you say it's not a bad idea. Maybe you have similar thoughts, but you're just afraid to tell your salespeople off. Interesting, interesting. So what if your salespeople come up to you and say, you always overestimate anyway? What do? Elbow them in the groin. Well, of course, you just say, yes, sir, and you go do it, right? And then you don't do it. It's not very useful, is it? What would be more useful than saying yes and doing no? Saying yes and doing yes, of course. And then work yourself into a burnout on time for the next project to fail. So one thing I think, this is true, this is a story, it doesn't have to be true, that this is my perspective, is that developers over the past 20 years have learned to say no. That's more useful than the rest, because it puts the confrontation earlier in the process. Confrontation is going to happen anyway. But what could be more useful than saying no? Well, first, let me give you a good reason why saying no is the wrong approach. And I don't mean wrong approach in the sense that it's suboptimal. I mean wrong approach in the sense it's wrong, and it doesn't help you. Is there anyone here who is a trained communication specialist in any form or another? Cool. Any salespeople here? So, my salespeople are trained to turn a no into a yes. I've had conversations with my salespeople where I went in and I thought, I'm going to defend this position here. And I walk out thinking, what did I just agree to? What happened? So saying no, it's hard. It's confrontational. And I'm going to lose that confrontation because I suck at talking. So instead of that, whenever my salesperson comes up to me and says, can we do this in 4 sprints? I say, well, we could maybe leave some stuff out and do it in 4. Have a conversation, maybe reset the priorities, figure out if we can have maybe some sprints now and postpone the other sprints. Maybe they could pay for the other sprints later. Maybe you have some ideas. I help, I negotiate. I offer choice, but I never choose. Because choosing is hard too. So I just present a few options and let them do the hard work. I never choose. So if my salesperson comes up to me, then ideally, I would already like him to understand this. So what if he came up to me and he says, look, this client, we really want to get them, but I can only sell 4 sprints. Pim, what do you think we should do? Is that a good idea or a bad idea? Good idea? Bad idea? Is it nice? Is it nice to be included like that in something that concerns you? I think it's pretty nice. Let's switch roles. Turn it around a little bit. I got my 8 sprints. Yes, I won. And in sprint 8, I walk up to my sales rep and I say, hey, so we're having trouble finishing it. You need to sell more sprints. Good idea. How bad idea? Okay, fine. I see where this is going. I understand. Sprint 7. Good idea. Fine. Sprint 5. Good idea. Bad idea. What if instead it's sprint 5, and I walk up to my sales rep and I tell him, look, I need your help. We estimate it was going to be 8 sprints at most, but we missed some key things that we should have seen. It's our bad. We made a mistake. It's sprint 5, and we already know it's going to be at least 13 sprints. Is there anything you can do to help me? That's nice, right? And the sales rep goes, no. But I need help. I mean, we messed up. I mean, it happens, right? Is there nothing you can do to help me? No. But we're on the same team, right? No. I don't know about you, but I feel that. I feel that here. That's what we do when we say no. Let's play another scenario. We're going to do the same scenario from 4 different perspectives. There's an API that I was working on last week. I got the specs. Got it. And I made it work. Beautiful, everything went okay, thing went live on Friday and it was good. But my manager, he got a call today and the client is not happy because the specs were all wrong. And they sent a list of features that need to be fixed or else. So naturally, my manager comes to my office and he knocks on my door. And he walks in and he says, oh, You were working on the API last week, right? That was you, wasn't it? Yes. Oh, God. I got off the phone with the client and, oh man, they're not happy. So they threatened to kill their account. They send a list of all the things that were wrong, and we have to fix them or else they're going to threaten the account. Oh man, I don't know what to do. Whoa. Are you okay, sir? No, it's just. Is there anything I can do to help? Oh yes, please help. Can you get the team together and maybe I'll order a couple of pizzas and we'll get this thing going and maybe we can fix the thing and can we do that? Oh well, I don't know. It's my girlfriend's birthday tonight and I really have to go. Oh no, please. Well, I guess I can take a look. Hey, you were working on the API last week, right? That was you, wasn't it? Oh, I just got off the phone with the client. Ooh, they're not happy. But I think we can fix it, because they send us a list of things, and we'll just get a couple of pizzas, get this thing going. You get the team together, I'll get the pizzas, and we make this work, right? What? It's my girlfriend's birthday tonight. I can't go. Oh, your girlfriend. Don't be such a party pooper. Come on. You're letting the team down. You don't want to let the team down, do you? Hey, you were working on an API last week, right? I just got off the phone with the client. They're not very happy with you. Ooh, no. I think we can still make this work, though, but you better get the team together. Get the team together? Why? Well, the client sent a list of features, and I think if we just implement those features, it'll be fine, and they won't be so angry with you. But I can't. It's my girlfriend's birthday. No. I don't think it's very wise to go to your girlfriend's birthday now. Hey, you were working on an API last week, right? Yes. I just got off the phone with the client. I have a list of new feature requests. Get the team together, go work on them. I'll get a few pizzas. But sir, it's my girlfriend's birthday tonight, and I have to go. Sorry, what? It's my girlfriend's birthday tonight. Sorry, what? What? Your girlfriend's birthday, what do I care? You get the team together and you fix this. Now! I'm glad you're laughing. I'm sad they don't do Oscars here. So I hope this kind of stuff doesn't really happen to you. Hopefully, at least not in this degree. It was quite obvious that, especially the last one, that's quite abusive. But in fact, all four of these are not okay. If this happens to you, I'm sorry, it's not okay. But what happened? I'd like to introduce a model to you. It's a model called the ego state model. We're all adults here, right? When people are not particularly affected by a stressor, people are just in their normal, semi-curious, bemused state of being, they are what is called adults, in the adult ego state. But sometimes some things happen that make us not feel so good. And one of the things that can happen is we go down to what is called the child state. In the child state, we behave we feel, we act as we did when we were young. And there are two ways in which that can happen. The first scenario we saw, that's what is called an adaptive child. An adaptive child is afraid to be punished, wants to fit into the system, wants to please the parent, and is actively looking for a parent's help. The second scenario that we saw was called a free or rebellious child. And a free or rebellious child is not so afraid of punishment, not so afraid of the rules. In fact, is quite willing to break the rules in order to get some shit done. Doesn't matter too much to him. We also saw two different scenarios called the parent state. In the parent state, we tend to behave and feel and act as we experienced adults when we were young. There's the nurturing side, and there's the judging side. Now, what happens in conversation? If someone enters one of these ego states, they try to push or pull someone else in the opposite. So if I go as a child, and I'm looking for a parent. So if your manager comes in like that, and he's kind of pushing you or pulling you in the opposite direction with the hope of you doing something that he or she wants you to do. How do you deal with this? It's very hard. Very hard if someone is very emotional. But the only advice I can give is push your hands up and say no. But I know. You know what? No. 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 Don't argue, don't engage, just keep it away from you. Elsewise, you're going to be pulled down or pushed up. Let's play one final game. You've probably played this one before. Stupid thing. Why isn't it compiling? Stupid mistake. Why isn't this bug just going away? Stupid machine. You okay there, buddy? Just working on this stupid bug, but I don't understand why it's not just working. So did you try that one thing? I tried that one thing, but that doesn't make any sense. Stupid. I have to fix this today or else. And did you perhaps try the other thing? Yes, I tried the... Thank you. Stupid thing. What about that one thing? Look, if I wanted help, I'd ask for it. Well, I'm sorry, but you're being very present, and I just want to help. And look, I don't want your help. I just want to work on this thing. Leave me alone. Well, it's very hard to leave you alone if you're acting like that. We're in this room too, and we are feeling very uncomfortable with what you're doing. Well, I'm feeling uncomfortable because I have to fix this stupid bug, so get out of this office. Well, why don't you go? Get out! And close the door behind you. That's probably completely unfamiliar to you all. There's another model that I'd like to show you. And it's a model called the drama triangle. The first thing we saw is a person who was very much being a victim of the situation. He's working on something and it wasn't working for him, wasn't working out. When people are in a victim role, they're looking for help in any way except asking for it. And so when the second person came in and felt uncomfortable. The second person tried to take the source of that discomfort away, which was the problems of the first person. So he tried to rescue the first person, but the first person wasn't having none of it, didn't want to be rescued, and so he stepped over and went into a role called the Persecutor. And this is the drama triangle: victim, rescuer, persecutor. The victim, the rescuer, the persecutor. So we saw person one immediately attacking person two, and person two went right back over. And they attacked each other till one person had enough. And person two went down to the victim role. And similar to what we saw with the ego state model, conversations where someone is actively participating in a certain role are unstable. And these conversations have to play out, or someone steps away. Who's never done any of this? Why do we do this? Because we enjoy it so much? Has anyone seen this picture before or something like this? What are we looking at? The brains, yes. Now there's 3 parts highlighted on this brain because I couldn't find a better picture, I'm sorry. We don't care about the hippocampus right now. We care about the amygdala and about the prefrontal cortex. The amygdala is our emotion regulation center. It releases hormones to make us feel things. The prefrontal cortex is our rational center. It's what we actively think with. And these two are in an eternal tug of war. When we are in an adult state, not playing a certain role, these two are 50-50. We're not particularly thinking, we're not particularly feeling. But when a stressor occurs, the amygdala fires up. Dutch author Remco Klaassen calls it a red cauliflower. Blows up and it sends all kinds of hormones into our body. Now when that happens, we literally can't think anymore. Literally can't think anymore. When someone is in the non-adult ego state, when someone is playing a role, it's very hard to think. It's very hard to reason. And that means that as an outsider, it's very hard to reason with them. Now, we can't do much about what other people are doing, except keep them away from us while they are being affected by their own amygdala. But we can do something about it in ourselves. When we notice a certain stressor, when we start to feel, we have 2 seconds. Just 2 seconds. In those 2 seconds, we have a choice. I'll think about it. I'll get back to you. I'll let you know first thing in the morning. I have to talk to my mother's neighbor's dog, his uncle's, his puppies. Anything you can do in those 2 seconds to not act out, to not give in. This is trainable, but it's hard. So, forgive yourself, forgive others if it happens. It is hard. We started out with this distance model. What's the thing very closest to us? There is nothing closer to you than you. There is nothing that you control more than that you control you. But other people, yes. But other people. But you. If If I want you to take anything away from this talk, yeah, the models are nice. They help explain things. They help create some understanding. But if there's anything I want you to take away from this talk, is that there's something that you can do. There's something that you can do to make your conversations go better. Two seconds. So I want you to be a beacon, a shining lighthouse, an example for others. Because if we want to change the world through technology, through whatever, if we want to make the best world that we can possibly make, then we better be the best people that we can possibly be. Thank you very much.
Really excellent talk, Pim. Thank you. We have some time for questions. Please, if you have any, raise your hand and I will run to you with the microphone. All right.
Hi. Great presentations, very helpful models. I think we can use them in our next situation like this. But in most of those kind of situations, we are creatures of instincts and fight or flight responses. So how can we use this in those kind of situations? Because most of the times we just go in a way that we usually are doing it. We are hearing this right now, I can relate 100%, but in a next situation that came up, maybe I'll do it the way I'm used to be doing it. And I just didn't grab that 2 seconds to think about it and to thought of the model and kind of use it.
So I would say, and that's my own experience, the first time that you use this model, it's going to be like a month after the conversation. It's going to hit you like, oh, that happened. Oh, that's what I did. Yeah, sure, other people, but that's what I did. Ah. And the next time it'll be 3 weeks. And the next time it'll be 2 weeks. And the next time it'll be a week, 6 days, 5 days, 4 days. And there is going to be a time, if you try and really incorporate this, there is going to be a time where you notice it in a moment. But it takes a lot of effort and a lot of training, which is why no one does this. But I can tell you from my own biased experience that it has made me a lot of money.
Other questions? You just wanted me to run all the way across the room.
Yeah, and in the meanwhile, this is the book called Games People Play. There are a dozen scenarios in it. The scenario that we played out with the typing and the bug and the screaming is called, why don't you yes but? 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 Look. But there's a dozen other games in here that people play. It's all on the site. It's very useful. And if you want to get an introduction into the ego state model and the other model, check out this YouTube video.
Sorry, thanks for the great presentation. Just going back to the place discussing a technical person versus a manager or a sales rep, where they say, okay, we need to do this in 4 weeks, and you're kind of advocating not to say no, but kind of to find a middle ground. Shouldn't your, I agree that you should offer back options, but shouldn't your kind of final be, no, we shouldn't do it in 4 sprints. That is a no, and I stand by my no because of this, this, and that. We can do option A, which is like this, but is bad for these reasons. We can do option B, which is like this for these reasons. We can do option C, which is bad for these reasons, but to do it all in 4 weeks, no. And kind of stand firmly by your no.
Yeah, no is confrontational. Just don't do it. And it doesn't help in the moment. You say, oh, yeah, that's very interesting, so here's what we could do. Don't use the word. They are trained, I understand, give him back the mic, but they are trained to respond to the word no. And you're not. Don't do it. You don't get into the mud and wrestle the pig, right? Good question. So
Hey, great talk. So I got a question about the API scenarios, you know. When the manager comes in, let's say in the first scenario where he's like, oh my God, what do I do? Can you help me out? So let's say that this manager is my colleague, he's my friend. I want to help him. How can I say no to him?
How can you still help him?
How can I still help him, but say no because my girlfriend's got the birthday and I don't want to eat pizza with him.
What was the last part?
I don't want to eat pizza with him, but I really like the guy. I want to help him.
Of course, pizza's bad for you. Why do you want to help the first person and not the other three? They're in the same situation.
Because I work with a guy like that. and I like him. I love the guy, you know, but what can I do? How can I say, no, dude, I can do it today, but he's like, wow.
So there's a short answer and a long answer to the question. The short answer is, he can't behave like that. Okay. It's abusive. Even though it might appear that it's not very abusive, he's emotionally manipulating, and that's wrong. The long answer is, he's doing it for a reason, because he either can't get it done any other way, or like whatever is troubling him, there is something that's keeping him from going at you and saying, hey, so I have this situation, and I'm really bothered by it. It affects me greatly, and I really need some help. Can you help me? That's the healthy approach. So why isn't he doing the healthy approach? Yeah, that's part not your problem, part your problem. It becomes your problem. Yeah. So in my team, we have, every time a new person comes aboard, we have a meeting and we talk about what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, when are you prone to falling apart, and when are you prone to shine, all that kind of stuff. So we kind of know from the start what each other's strengths and weaknesses are, and we grow towards that together. But every team is going through a phase at one point called storming, where things don't go as well. And that's when these kinds of things need to be hashed out. So when this behavior happens, if you feel okay, only if you feel okay, you tell him, hey, stop. I want to help you, calm down. Because saying to someone, calm down, always works. But if you want to help him, if you really want to help him and you think you can, then you have to first get him out of this behavior.
Okay, thanks.
We have time for one more question.
So I have one more question, but it's more about like how can someone act. So when we are experiencing some of those scenarios, I guess that it is best to be like assertive or something like that. Like helping situation, but without ruining everything. Like to be assertive. I don't know, without being aggressive and something like that. I guess it is the best way in the overall, or...
I don't understand the question. It's hard for me to hear because the sound goes that way. And
let me I can rephrase.
What's the best way to be assertive?
Is it the best in those situations to be assertive?
No, you're unsafe in this situation. So get out. You have to save yourself first. Because if you engage in the situation, you're going to get dragged down or pulled up or whatever. Don't do that. So if you feel really well and you think, I really can help here, there is something I can do, and I am not dropping from my adult state, and I'm not dropping into the victim, persecutor, or rescuer role, go for it. But I recommend, in terms also of the first question, get used to this stuff first. Don't try to save other people before you've saved yourself.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Another round of applause for Pim.